Pascal Vicedomini. But in Los Angeles, they're showing the films tonight. They're in person in the theater at the Chinese theater showing films for the Los Angeles Italia Festival. It's a very interesting program tonight because well, let's start with the middle, Luminous View by Fabrizio Ferraro. A very interesting film.
It was shown for the first time in the last Berlinale.
Berlin. But the two films that are making the bread for the sandwich are very interesting and related in a special sort of way. Because that's Fellini of the Spirits, which after 100 years of Federico Fellini.
And it's a movie directed by an amazing Italian-American director.
Yeah, by Anselma Dell'Olio.
Selma Dell'Olio.
Anselma Dell'Olio. And it deals with the dreams of Fellini and the shared dreams that we all have, which the cinema is our shared dreams. And in our discussions tonight, we're talking about streaming. We're talking about
And what is
films.
the third movie?
Pardon me? The third movie is that because it deals with the COVID response in the spring of last year, Spring Outside.
It was Gabriel Salvatore's movie.
Oscar winner.
A movie distributed in the world by Viacom, who actually has given us this year an amazing amount of movies. Hidden Away by Giorgio Di Ritti, Christmas at the Cupiello House by Edoardo De Angelis. It was Spring Outside, Gabriel Salvatore's. Then we have some movies directed by Alessandro Dalati, the startup in Punta di Piedi. The Bastard of Pizzo Falcone, it's a TV series, spectacular. And also again by Alessandro Dalatri, Detective Ricciardi. And then we have other movies by Viacom, directed by Ivan Cotroneo, Kryptonite, then The Swan Company. And then again, we have some other TV series very successful, produced and broadcasted by Rai, and then distributed worldwide by Viacom. Detective Montalbano, and then The Fugitive, directed by Carlo Carlei, Mina Settembre, by Tiziana Aristarco. There is one missing, La Compagnia del Cigno. I don't know what is the title in English, maybe, come? The Swan Company, sorry, I was distracted. Anyway, dear Daniel, are you having a good time? This is the fourth day.
No, this is actually an amazing time because not only are we doing this live virtual, but the films are showing in Los Angeles, but we're having, as what always happens, a great group of people, Oscar winners, Oscar nominees. We have an Oscar winner coming up here in our next segment with really something very special, a master class.
We have also some great maestro. And when we talk about maestro, there is one that makes me shake all the time. Here we go. The maestro forever. Terry Gilliam. Welcome, maestro, everybody. And then we have another maestro, Paul Haggis. Where is Paul Haggis? Is there Paul Haggis? He moved away. Where is he? New York or in... He's here. Then there is a maestra, Amanda Moresco. Where is Amanda? We lost Amanda. Why we lost her? Paul, I can't hear you.
We always this is streaming. This is live, and this is we're putting Zoom together here. So don't worry, we'll all be here together.
But what we forgot to say that all these movies you can watch either if you are in Los Angeles physically at the Chinese theater. But if you are not, you are in other part of the United States of America, or you can watch it on two platforms. The platforms of eventype.org and the platform of mymovies.it. Actually, there are some of these movies which are available also in the Italian territory because they allowed us to do it. Actually, the other movies for the people who come from Italy are not available because, of course, the rights that we have, considering this is an American festival, Italian-American festival, taking place in Los Angeles, it's just America only. However, we are seeing now an amazing group of young and talented, and not only young, actors who are part of the gang that are following Amanda Moresco and Paul Haggis. Oh, I can see over there. And I can't see anymore Maestro Terry Gilliam. Where is him? Is he coming back? Nino, what do you think? Paul, please activate the microphone and say, Maestro, can you talk?
Terry.
Yes, can I talk?
All right.
Oh, yes, you can.
Thank you, Maestro, for joining. How are you, Terry?
I'm cold. I'm sorry, I'm alive. That's what I mean.
How has been?
Oh, yes. How is what?
How have you been?
There is no business. The world is dead, and I'm being as close to the world as possible. I am unemployable, unemployed, and growing old. So that's the reality.
Paul Haggis, are you there? I can't
Are
hear
you
your
there?
voice.
Can't hear me.
Okay,
Everybody
now I
else
can.
can hear me.
Amanda, are you there?
Yes, yes, here I am.
Oh, wonderful. Why
can you
can't
not
we have
hear
on the
me?
same screen Amanda, Paul, and Maestro Terry Gilliam?
Can you not hear me?
We hear you now.
Yes, I can hear you well.
Oh, okay, good. That's good. I was just saying it was so amazing to see Terry. I mean, one of the last times I saw him was a few years ago at his fabulous film festival in Umbria near there. It was such a delight to be invited there, and good to see you, Terry. I strangely and oddly, I rewatched two of your films recently just because they happen to be on. They're two of my favorites. Oh no, you have so many, but I rewatched 12 Monkeys and Fisher King. Jesus Christ, you're a genius. Genius.
Amanda, how do you like Terry Gilliam movies?
Oh, I mean, Paul just said it well. Genius is the only word for it. 12 Monkeys, Fisher King. At the end of those movies, your mind is just blown at what you've just watched. So, I mean, it's just an honor.
Stuff from the early comedies on. He's a brilliant man, and is Don Quixote. I mean, there's just so many wonderful things. So
Yes.
good to see you, Terry.
So, Paul, listening to the word, the very negative word Terry Gilliam said before, it reminds me hearing Federico Fellini, who actually, at a certain point of his life, keeps saying that there is no more movies, they don't let me make movies, and then came Ibrahim Musa, the producer. Actually, at that time he was married with Nastasia Kinski, and he produced L'Intervista with Sergio Rubini, and here we go, the maestro.
There's Terry.
So, what would you say to Terry Gilliam? I think that this is the right situation for the masterclass. Paul,
Sure.
I leave you.
Terry,
I leave
Terry,
you the word.
Did you hear us fawning all over you and your movies a second ago, or were you gone? Because we were just kissing your goddamn feet. You're such a genius. Did you hear that? Because I want you to hear it.
I couldn't hear a lot of that question. I got one.
There was no
one third
question.
of
There
the
was
words.
us telling you. There was no question. There was us telling you that you're a goddamn genius, and that I rewatched 12 Monkeys and Fisher King recently, and just knowing you and knowing your films has just made my life so much better. And so I want to thank you for that genius.
Thanks. I just think of myself as the man who got away with murder so many times.
Yes. And didn't occasionally, yes, which was even more entertaining. Yes. Anyways, it is fabulous to have you here. The question I think was thrown out to us was like, is it really that bleak out there? And he talked about Fellini's comeback. After Fellini said movies were over, and someone found him, a great producer found him, and enabled him to keep making films. I think that's all you need. You need a great producer, Terry. So you need somebody with money to run business. You've got the vision, you have the projects, and you're certainly bankable. It's just that you keep taking risks. And when you take risks, sometimes movies don't work. Other times they go through the roof. And everybody today wants everything safe. Everything's safe. The same story over and over and over again, which no one wants. But that's what studios want. That's what producers want. That's what they don't want. That's the notes that we get. Or can you make it more like this? But you just say, no, I'm going to do this. And 80% of the time you knock it out of the fucking park. 20% of the time you fail. That's not goddamn bad. If baseball players had that average, I mean, please.
I think they caught up with me finally, because I've got no offers. Nobody's coming forward. They assume that I'm full of new and exciting ideas, but I found the pandemic has actually stopped my brain imagining anything. I don't know why. It's as if civilization has stopped. And so have I. It's a I always thought this time would be a time to be pouring out with new ideas, drawing, coming up with a million things to think about. And it's just not the case. In fact, the way I've been surviving the pandemic is with my wife every evening. We switch on Netflix and we become couch potatoes, watching series that go on and on and on.
Terry, that's a story, just dying for an inciting incident. You're writing your own story. I'm dying to see what happens next. Genius screenwriter at home thinking the world is over, and then this happens, and then what? I mean, you're right there. This is the story.
No, I'm just pretending to be dead. I'm in hibernation. I'm just an old bear in hibernation. The winter will end soon.
Cinema cannot afford for you to do that. Get off your goddamn ass. We need your voice. I'm sorry. I'm not feeling sorry for you. You are a genius. Get off your ass, because we need you so much.
Well, what I need is money. So if you know anybody with money and is willing to lose a bit of it, give them my number.
Exactly. That's what we all need, Terry, isn't it? We need the people who want to take the risks with us. We all need that. Yeah, it's true.
We're totally dependent. I think what's frightening now, what's sad is I think when the pandemic does finish, the people who suffer the most have been the independent film producers and distributors. That is what is, it's like the pandemic was beautifully designed by Hollywood to wipe out all these little independent operations. I may be wrong.
No, I think they designed it. Yeah, it's all them.
And I
You're
also
getting
just
closer and closer to
that,
this story, Terry.
I just want to acknowledge also, Terry, that we were talking earlier about this Fellini of the Spirits, the documentary, but you're in that documentary talking about Fellini.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was one of my heroes. I mean, just extraordinary. Because, again, there was somebody who saw the world in very original ways. The stories he told, they were always basically about himself. And yet, I just grew up wanting to be like Fellini. In fact, the best thing about making The Adventures of Baron Munchausen in Rome was on my last night in Rome, Dante Ferretti organized a dinner with Fellini and his wife. And the end of the meeting, Federico says, "Come, take a walk with me." And he took me by the arm, and we walked around the Trevi Fountain. And I thought, I'm in love. This is fantastic.
Oh my God, Terry. Wow. Oh my God. I mean, as close as I ever got to the maestro was when I shot in Rome, and I shot at the studio, and I would go to the bar on the studio lot where he had his coffee every morning, and I'd ask the barista exactly where he stood. And I stood exactly where he did and had my cafe every morning. And that to me was a dream. So to meet him and to talk to him and walk around the Trevi Fountain with him, oh my God, to have dinner with him, what a gift.
It was, what was very funny when I was shooting in Rome with Dante Ferretti, his designer, Gabriele Piscucci, his costume designer, Peppino Bertuno, his cinematographer. I had my office in the middle of Dante's art department. So anybody
I remember where that is.
Yeah, and anybody who came to me to see me had to go through the art department to see what was going on. One day, it was lunchtime, and I went to leave the office, and I couldn't get out the door because it was blocked by Fellini's crew. They were shooting, I think it was from Intervista, and in the tree right outside the door was Marcello Mastro, the magician, blue suit, and that was it. It was Fellini saying, "Listen, punk, you're coming here. This is my turf. You got all my people, and fuck you. You don't get to go out of your office when
As
you
he
want to
could
go.
too, as
You
only he
get out
could
when
with
I want you to."
a charm.
And I
He's like,
love that.
I
mean, it was
just
wonderful.
thinking it together makes me smile. I tell you that. I tell you that. Two geniuses, two different eras, but two geniuses. Yeah.
Yeah.
And two gentlemen who deal with the subconscious, for sure, who deal with dreams. I think that in that way you've carried on Fellini's legacy.
You're absolutely right, Daniel.
Well,
I hadn't thought of.
I hope I absorbed a lot from him. I mean, he left the scars pretty deep, and I just think it was just a wondrous way of, it was magical, his movies, as far as I was concerned. It was like I was being transported to another wonderful world. And I thought he was a great fantasist. But when I finally got to Rome to make Munchausen, he was a brilliant documentary filmmaker. All those people were real. They weren't fantasy. They were real. They were out on the streets. He just saw them with his own particular unique eye and transformed them into something gigantic, wondrous.
Yeah. No, and the more time I've spent in Italy, the more time, and if I really pay attention and get away from where everybody is, you see those characters and you go, wait, are they shooting a movie? No, those Fellini's characters exist. You just have to be able to go where they are and appreciate them rather than hide in our bubbles and get along with people who are exactly like us, even though they're Italian. But no, it's amazing to see those characters, and as they come alive, the poster of Amarcord, you can find those people. And you're right, absolutely right.
There's also another side of it. It may be that those people developed into what we saw because they had seen something that they wanted to be like in a Fellini film. This happened to me in a different way in Hollywood. Years ago, my wife and I were out at my parents' house. My brother was a cop, an LA cop, and he charged into the room and he whipped a pistol from his ankle holster and said, "Nobody move." My wife panicked. Now, what was interesting is my brother was a real policeman, but what he was doing was the kind of behavior that you saw on Starsky and Hutch. So it's very interesting how film or television changes the reality.
What's the end of that goddamn story? Did he shoot something? What the hell, Darren? He breaks into the room, he's got a gun, nobody moves. What happens?
This is the inciting incident.
We got to binge watch it.
Break that one. What happened?
What happened? My wife went berserk and threw him out.
Oh, okay. The wife took the gun away from him, threw him out. There's a great twist. No one expects that one. I love it. Yes.
Oh, it's nice to know how easily we are influenced. And it's my kind of feeling about when you make films, there is a considerable responsibility to not lie to people, to try to be truthful. Because if you're going to influence them, be honest.
Your films are so truthful. Your most fantastic films are so truthful and honest and emotional. And that's what makes them great movies. It's not everyone thinks, it's the puppetry or it's the effects or it's the wardrobes, the makeup. It's not. It's the honesty and your ability to see truth in the middle of absurdity. And to realize that absurdity and truth are exactly the same thing, but you capture that so beautifully as Fellini did, and that's why I've admired you for so long. It just
thank you. Now tell me how I can become as successful as you, Paul.
Just become a hack writer, and you got it. You just so.
I think Terry, your legacy was something that certainly Paul admires. I admire. Everybody admires. My favorite film, though, is Brazil. Brazil, because
what's better than Brazil?
Yeah.
What's better? Yeah.
I think one of the best films of all time for me.
I have that too. When I was smart, and it was when I was smart and got Tom Stoppard to work with me. The trick is to surround yourself with brilliant people who are more talented than you in their own particular way. I think it's crazy. I mean, every film I've made is a result of the people who made it, not me. I'm the guy that gets the credit for it, and that's all. It's an illusion. I
love De Niro's cameo in that as the plumber. He's just so brilliant. You know, the plumber who comes to save you. He was just genius. Yes.
Well, that was the thing. I told him he should go and consider himself actually a brain surgeon. He just uses different tools. And Bobby took that literally, and he spent a lot of time with a real brain surgeon watching surgery.
Wow. Well, he certainly pulled it off. Amazing. It was, yeah, you're right. It's just with Jonathan. It was such, thank you for doing that movie. Again, it's just one of the greats.
I just want to also introduce here Federico Rossi, an Italian actor but filmmaker who did the movie Flash, a documentary about an Italian boxer. Yes. He's here joining the conversation. And is this apparently a master class of some sort, as I understand, Paul?
It was going to be, but now you brought Terry Gilliam, and that's much more goddamn interesting.
We're learning from the master.
Maestro.
I think the best master classes are just when people talk like this.
Yeah,
it's a conversation. That's what it really is.
Okay, can I ask you a question, Terry, and about story and craft? And it may be this, I don't want this because you've said you've been sitting for a year and unable to come up with something or to get the nerve to come up with, but forget that. Where do you start? Where do you personally start when you find something that intrigues you? Some kernel that says, I need to think more, maybe make a movie about this. Where do you start?
I think I start as a reaction against reality. I mean, the world does what the world does, and I get angry about certain things, and I think I want to say something about that. And it really is, and that's I think what's happening with the pandemic. The world is in doing nothing. The world doesn't exist at the moment. It really feels that way, and so it's very hard to react. And it was easier when Donald Trump was still president because I could be angry every day. And I used to put things on my Facebook every other day. I would do something about Trump. But now with Biden in, life is wonderful again. So I have nothing to complain about.
Yeah, well, I'd argue with that one, but certainly, you know, the results of yesterday's trial are buoying. But that said, you still some of these things came from novels, some from ideas, some from various things, some just out of your head. From novels, we can just kind of understand that the Fisher King things but where you take it is genius. But when you reach back at any of the original thoughts that you collaborated on or that you wrote yourself, what was the process? Tell me one thing. I want to learn one thing at this masterclass. Tell me.
I don't have a process. That's the key thing.
I know.
I get excited about things. An idea may obsess me. It actually takes me over.
How did Brazil come about?
And then, but the trick is having ideas, then talking with other people, and it starts growing. As basically, it's always been that way. Books have been my backstop. When I don't have an idea, I will always go to a book because I love books more than film. You were a true
collaborator at the start. You need that collaboration. But Brazil, tell me about Brazil. How did that start? How did it come about? Because
it started. I had this idea. I had two things. I had read a book on the witch trials in Europe in the 17th century. That intrigued me. What also was going on at that time was in Brazil, Argentina. It was very, very bad timing if you're politically different than the government. And one of the things that struck me about the witch trials was if you're accused of being a witch, you would be put into jail, prison, you would have a trial, all of these things, and you would have to pay for them. You paid for your time in jail, you paid for your trial, you even paid for a party for the trial, the judge and all, after you were found guilty. Now, what was happening in South America, where people were being put in prison and having to pay for their incarceration. So that made me start thinking, and terrorists were busy at work in Europe. The Red Brigade in Italy, Baader Meinhof in Germany. We were having fun in America, and all that made me begin to think, wait, the state is growing, and are there actually as many terrorists as people think there are? Or is all of this just a way of supporting a bureaucracy? You need terrorists, and so that kind of thinking led to what Brazil was. I actually wrote 94 pages of a story, the whole thing.
Wow.
But then somebody suggested Tom Stoppard, and I knew what I had written had to be taken to a higher level than what I was capable of. And so I called Tom, and he was intrigued. And so he had 3 drafts. He wrote 3 drafts, and we met in between. And that was basically it. He's such a brilliant writer. One of the sad things is he had a preface to the whole story that was brilliant, which was about a rainforest being cut down by this gigantic piece of machinery, which led to an insect in the rainforest flying off for safety, and that's the bug that ends up in one of the early scenes in the film that gets killed and falls into the machine. But we couldn't afford to do the big preamble that he had written, so we simplified it. It's everything. One of the other things in Brazil that is important to say, I had much more elaborate and many more dream sequences. Huge spectacles, which we started shooting, and 12 weeks, about 11 weeks into the shoot, I said, this is ridiculous now. We're behind the schedule. This film is going to be 5 hours long if I continue this way. And so Arnon Milchan was the producer. I said, Arnon, I think we've got to shut down for 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. And basically, we shut down, and I pulled all my favorite scenes out of the movie. All these huge fantasy spectacle scenes, because they weren't necessary. What I was doing in the reality part of the story, it was changing. I was adding things all the time, and suddenly I didn't need those fantasy sequences, and we finally got the film down to a reasonable length.
That is so interesting what you're saying from a writing standpoint, because it happens all the time. You find that the key scenes, I remember this in the Valley of Ella, the key scenes that you say, okay, this is the scene that explains everything. This is the scene that gets to the heart of the movie, and this is it's not just a great scene. It'll be this moment will be not only in the trailer, it'll be on the poster. Okay, and you remember, and that's the first goddamn thing you cut after you finish shooting. You go, no, it's just I was explaining too much. Right. I didn't need it, and often that happens with dream sequences. That happens with flashbacks, that happens with things you think you need to explain what's going on. As you said, what was happening in the present was so dynamic, and you were making it so dynamic, and the need so great for your protagonists, and the obstacles so large, you didn't need it anymore. But thank God you realized that in time.
It's one of the things about being a writer-director. you can cut your own material easier. It's painful to cut somebody else's material, a writer's material. When we did Fisher King, that script came to me, and when I read it, I just thought, oh God, this is so brilliant. It's such a brilliant script, and there were certain things in it that I had questions about, and I talked to the producers first, and then I got hold of Richard LaGravides, who actually wrote it, and said, Rich, can you just send me the very first script you wrote, not the one we have here? And he did. And basically, I almost did the original script as he originally wrote it the first time out, because it had been altered by the process of going through the studio system with people trying to make sure the film would get made. And they turned things into like in Fisher King, where Jeff climbs up this building and gets the Holy Grail, and that whole sequence was supposed to be done on roller skates. And I said, what? And there was so much nonsense in the script that I first read. And luckily, I threw it out. And because Richard had written it, it was the very first script he'd ever written, not for anybody, for himself. I said, Richard, this is your film, not my film. You have to be on the set every day to tell me when I start taking your film away from what you want. And that's how we made the film.
For you.
Very
That
generous.
is so smart as a director. And I think mostly only writer-directors really appreciate that. Because that's something I say all the time, and I'm sure you'll agree, that everyone adores the directors, thinks that they are the ones who have made the movie. It's kind of not true. It's if you were going to put it into any other world, the writer would be the architect. The director is the builder. Now, which one do you celebrate? You celebrate the architect. Not in our world, you celebrate the builder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Builders can do amazing things and make great changes and really work with that architect or become the architect themselves. But it's the architect who should be celebrated. And because but in your collaboration with him, since you're such an amazing collaborator and the visions you brought, you were writing in your head as you were on set and saying, okay, this guy should walk in here. Where? I don't know why he should be there. And your feelings, your gut feelings made it so much more interesting when your instincts are so incredible.
I have a question.
It's the horrible thing about directing is, and everybody uses terms like my film, which I refused. I really try not to use it because I think it's wrong. It's always our film. And I feel my job is to convince everybody working on the film that it is collaborative. I do care what they think. I try to encourage them to try to make the film that I'm trying to make, but I want their input.
Yeah, of course. It's all about collaboration. And you can't, as a director, you have to have all the ego in the world and no ego at all. You have to be able to when 100 people come to you and say, you must change this, people you respect, people that you adore, people that have hired you, people who have financed it, and you have to say, I don't think so. But, when one guy comes to you and he's the prop guy and goes, I think I have a better idea, you better bloody listen. You can't have that ego on you, and that's happened to me. Literally a prop guy gave me a great idea for a scene in this thing I did called Easy Streets. And I went, the camera should be over there. Steven's right. Camera needs to be over there. We're looking at this all wrong. And, but you have to have that very strange thing of being, as you are, so open and vulnerable as you are, Terry, and so open to ideas, and at the same time, so stubborn that once you hear all those great ideas, it's okay to say no. It's not your job to be loved. Not on the set. It's your job to make a great movie and not to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I think the director has to have the film so in his bone marrow. It's so much part of him that it's so clear. So when somebody comes over with a bad idea, or it may be a great idea, it's just not the film I'm trying to make. But like you're talking about, I remember on Jabberwocky, I got myself in the corner. I was literally shooting into a corner of this set. And the prop guy tapped me on the shoulder and said, Terry, why are you doing this? And I said, fuck off, get away from me. And he said, Terry, have you just thought about the possibility of just turning the camera around? And it took me a beat, and I said, God damn it, you're absolutely right. I'm an idiot.
Prop guys. We love prop
And
guys.
that was
No
it.
real. Yeah. It's so interesting because that's
Right.
one of Bobby's great roles, Bobby Moresco on Crash, because, this was something I constructed. My dream, I'd worked on it for years, and it had the story, and I called Bobby, and he said, as I said, not a story, but I was convinced him. He said, just come over to my house, and we started writing, and just sparks flew, and in 2 weeks we had a script. But when we got on set, we finally convinced somebody after years to finance this thing and put some people on it. His job mainly, when actors would come to me with an idea, as a director, writer-director, but as a writer, I know that my writing is pretty goddamn bad. And I'm looking for the actors to make it better. And so they'd come with an idea and I'd go, oh, that's great. That's wonderful. And Bobby go, but wait, if you do that, you'll ruin everything.
Yeah.
I went, really? Yes, here's why. I went, Bobby, thank you, just saved me. So Bobby could be that person who stood back and had the script more in mind, because I really wanted to make the movie, and he was trying to protect our vision. And it was such a wonderful partnership on set because of that. But somebody, you were grateful enough. I mean, you've protected your own, but if you can have somebody like that, like your prop guy, or in my case, much larger, like Bobby, to protect you, boy,
Yeah.
it's a dream.
So
No,
we don't have a
it's
prop guy
interesting.
here, but pardon me, we don't
We've
have a
got
prop guy here, but we have Federico Rossi has a question.
Yes, my question, sorry for interrupting. My question was exactly this. How much of the actor, how much can an actor be an author-ish kind of input inside the film, and how much for you guys is the director like the author together with the writing of the whole film, of the feature film, the art process?
It is really, really, really hard to hear you. The microphone is
Yeah.
a long way away from you.
The question was what an actor's input, how much can an actor contribute during the shooting of a film in terms of certainly the writer and director, or writer and director.
Terry, I think you should answer that.
Was that?
Yeah, to you, Terry. How many, how the influence
Terry.
certain actors have on character and script? What is your, can you talk about that? Terry's gone.
While, because you write the script, you spend a couple of years raising the money, and by the time you start shooting, I start shooting, I'm almost bored because I know it too much. I played it in my head for so many months, years, whatever. And I'm very careful about casting, but when I know I've got the right person, when we come to work every morning, I'm surprised. The actors are bringing something that I hadn't thought about. I'm luckily, as director, and being an old director, it makes a difference because they think you know what you're doing, which I don't, basically. But I have gravitas with age. And so when they suggest something, it's very easy for me to say, that's terrific, fantastic. It's so much better than what I thought. Or, not so sure. Let's not do that.
Yeah, you have to be able to say both, but you really want them to feel safe enough to bring you those ideas. Because, people, I don't know why, I'm sure people are terrified of you. For some reason on set, sometimes people are terrified of me. I think it's just because we're so focused and we're going and they don't want to interrupt us or something. But you have to allow a space for the actors to feel brave enough to come and go, Terry, Mr. Gilliam, have you considered this? And you go, speak up. And you go, Mr. Gilliam, have you considered this? What? Oh, yeah. Oh, good. I mean, but if you don't allow that to occur, allow that safety, they'll never come to you. And as you said, half of the ideas will be bad, but the other half are going to be genius. Then they're going to be adjustments to your vision, but adjustments that can make it so much deeper and more interesting. There's a layer underneath that you hadn't thought of, or a thing, or them just picking up a prop that you did not ever consider they'd pick up suddenly makes the scene alive. They say, can I pick up that, that ceramic pig over there and walk through it? They go.
And often, one action from an actor means you can throw out several paragraphs of a script.
Charlie's talking
because they've actually done it without saying the words. And that's what I love about it. I mean, I'm incredibly instinctive about casting, and I've been pretty good at getting good people who I think I will have a good time playing with and who understand what we're trying to do. So, the directing for me, except for a few early it's been easy. The days are so enjoyable because these people come and they're so into the character. We just fly. We don't waste much time. I just basically, say stand here, or if you don't want to stand here, tell me where you want to stand. We'll get a different shot quickly. When I began, I storyboarded everything.
Terry, this is what I want you to remember now. In the middle of this pandemic, this is what you should be remembering, the joys of that. Because I know that's not the case always with you. I've seen the documentary, La Mancha. I've seen it. I saw the horror.
Have you seen He Dreams of Giants?
Yes.
It's a lie. It's
really?
It's somebody else. I'm an actor in somebody else's story.
I love that. But I also agree. Oh, that's beautiful.
It's very funny because the guys who made it, it's the third documentary we've done together. But I know people seem to respond to the documentary about the pain of making a film, my angst, all that. It's not true. I mean, what you get is me reacting enough times saying, when something goes wrong, saying, "Oh, fuck, shit, cut." That I say, that's true. But what they didn't get is any of the actual laughter, which we do. We laugh most of the time on the set, but they were telling, Keith, who directed it, was actually telling, it was his autobiography of filmmaking, pain and everything. And when you see me there with my head in my hands, it's not me anguishing about anything. It's the fact I'm tired and I got 5 seconds before we get the next setup ready, and I'm resting.
Trying to rest your eyes.
And I've told the guys that it's a film about them, and I'm just an actor in it.
Well, this is the power of cinema. You going like this, we can read into what that is, and we can impress them. And that's what a filmmaker does. So, yeah, sorry, baby, you're just an actor in that one. That's what happens to actors.
Fair enough, right?
Yeah, but Terry, I hear you say that you when you get angry about something, you start to create a story, and then in this they take the segments of you being angry and make you an actor. I think anger may be a key for you, not to be any sort of therapist, but maybe it's time to get angry about something.
It gets my adrenaline going. I will use anything, even anger, to get my adrenaline going.
Really piss you off, Jerry, just to get you going.
Because basically, I'm getting old and tired, so I need to find excuses to get adrenaline flowing. Laughter is one of them.
Being old and tired.
So what are you angry about now? Amanda's asking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm angry about the fact that I'm stuck in my house. I can't get to Italy. What I want to be right now is in Umbria, in my house there.
You can get there. I've been to Rome twice. You can get there.
Coming soon.
I think I'm comfortable in saying that all Italy wants you here, Terry. I think all of Italy is waiting for you here. So.
You're there this summer, Terry.
I really miss it. Here's what I do. I've been on Google Earth looking at my house from again and again, and I started driving around the roads in Umbria near my house just by pushing the arrow. And I go further down the road, and I can look at my house up there, and there's the neighbors over there, and I can pretend I'm in Umbria.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in Italy this summer for sure, and not on Google Earth. I'm going to get there. You're going to get there. We're going to have a glass of wine or two.
Yes.
I can report from Italy. We're opening up.
Yeah.
I would like to see the story of the man who is stuck in his house on Google Earth, can't get out, and what he does either in his mind, because I know you can write a story about a man who's in his mind, is stuck in his house, angry about the state of the world after the pandemic. It's in you, Terry. I know it.
Yes, I agree with Amanda. Start working.
I love this, but there's nothing in my mind. My mind is
that's
void.
what you just told us. What?
Terry, you
That
gotta
doesn't
switch
make a
your
very good
routine.
movie.
A genius who
Not a
thinks there's
movie.
nothing left.
Yes.
Switch it up.
All of us,
Switch
Yeah.
your
all of us
routine.
would die to have this much of what's in your head. When one morsel, we would die to get that morsel.
But
You got at least a
But
morsel
it is
left.
very funny
We're-
because I get also I look at that, and I've just been the people who cut the grass have just sent me some pictures because the cinghiali, the wild boars, have completely ripped up the lawn, which they do every year. So it's nothing new.
Yes.
This is like a 2021 rear window
Yeah.
through Google Earth.
Exactly.
And,
Anyways,
and
so
here's how
Daniel,
bad
are
it
we
is.
just about out of time? Daniel?
I don't know. But
No,
all I know
I-
is we were so busy talking, I realized I've left my front teeth out.
I didn't notice those, but we weren't going to say.
Well, I was counting on the mustache to cover that up, but no.
Work, perfect. Work. You don't need him. You're good.
It's a good look for you.
You do look
Well,
good.
Daniel, I think we can wrap up now. It's been over an
Yeah, no.
hour, but I just, it's such a great gift to be surprised with Terry Gilliam here. I didn't expect this. He's one of my favorite filmmakers in the entire world in the history of cinema. And I'm so pleased to be able to call him a friend, even though we know each other, from small events and things and times, a little bit of time together. But my God, every moment of that has been a gift. And so, Terry, please listen to Amanda. Go find out what makes you angry and start writing the damn thing down, because I want another of your movies.
Yes, please.
We love you, Terry, and we want
Come
we want a
on,
few more.
Ischia, this year we all get together.
Ischia. Okay, well, thinking Ischia. That sounds
Yes.
perfect.
Together, and Terry's in the
enjoyed that
Fellini of the
conversation.
Spirits tonight in the Chinese Theater at the Los
Sorry?
Angeles Italia Film Festival. You're in the film tonight that's being shown at 4:00 p.m. in the cinema at the Chinese Theater. At 6:30 p.m., The Luminous View, directed by Fabrizio Ferraro. And then it was spring outside, about our spring, everybody with COVID and the isolation everybody feels, but also the emptiness of the streets, by Gabriele Salvatores. We've been here with Amanda Moresco, and also Paul Haggis, Terry Gilliam, everybody, such a smart group. Pascal Vicedomini will be back with us here a little bit later. Federico Rossi. We've all been here together, and we thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the next segment. What? I don't know.
Thank you all. Ciao, ciao. Thank you, especially
Go
Terry.
on? Are we going on?
Oh,
No, here comes Pascal. Pascal is another idea.
Change of plan. Change of plan.
Paul was looking to close it up. He was directing, and he was looking to
I was
close
over
it
an
up.
hour. You said it was over an hour. I'm bumping the next people. We don't want to be greedy.
No, Paul, you can't leave. You gotta do your master class.
We just did it. We just did it. We're finished. It's
No,
great.
few more minutes. Come on.
no, for Paul.
Having you
I've
and
been here.
Paul and Amanda, it's such an event. You cannot cut the event.
Come on,
Okay, but-
I've been here an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
please.
You can't. Terry wants to get writing.
No, come on,
I want
guys.
to go back to my lonely existence.
I can hang out. No problem. I'm
Terry,
into a writing.
you know
Any
how much I love you. If you gotta go, just go. Don't worry, Terry. I'm so sorry
I do.
for
I really
begging
am
you.
in trouble. Maggie will
Okay.
kill me if I don't get out of
No
here.
problem. You are my hero, as you know. I love you, and I wait for you in Ischia.
Yeah, me too. See you
Ciao,
there,
yes,
Terry.
Ischia.
18.
Yeah. Quest'anno,
25
quest'anno
of,
in Ischia.
Pascal, I think
Amanda,
Pascal.
bye. Paul, bye.
Bye, Terry. Thank you so
Hi,
much.
Terry.
Thanks.
We have
See
now
you
coming.
hopefully in
We
July.
have now coming another Hollywood hero, Armand Assante, which actually will
Come
be.
on.
Yeah, he's coming, Armand, to join you, and but Paul, at the same time, please keep going with your conversation with Amanda. And
I actually have to go in about 15 minutes because I thought we were going to, but I wanted to talk about with Amanda something that we started with before I knew the great Terry Gilliam. was going to join us, which, by the way, thank you, Pascal. Thank you so much for that. It's picking that man's brain. Oh my God, what a brain to pick. But before that, I was talking to Amanda about this idea. I woke up, I have very vivid dreams now. I don't know why. I think people are talking about COVID and various things, and they're usually very vivid, stupid dreams. It was a bad combination. You know, I wake up and just the most boring problem I have in the world has been haunting me in my dreams. And I wake up in the middle of the night knowing I have to solve this. And it takes me minutes to realize I've been dreaming. I don't need to solve it at all. It's a stupid problem anyways. It's easily solved. Just go back to sleep. But occasionally, just occasionally, I'll get an idea in that. And that's how Crash came out. You know, there's these two kids who were haunting me. They were the ones who stuck guns in my face and stole my car 10 years before. They were haunting me. And then I asked myself, who did they meet? Well, me. And what did I do? I went home and changed the locks and what it is. And I came up with the idea that, you know, one thing I wanted to deal with was the fact that, you know, it's the liberals we have to worry about in this world, which is me. It's those people who hide behind their liberalism and hide their racism behind that we have to worry about, not the racists who are obviously racist. I mean, you have to worry about them too. You know, Derek Chauvin, please. But it's
the moderate liberal. Right.
Worse than that are the people that enable that, and there's people who go, yeah, that's fine. What's going on? It's nothing. You know, those are the people that enable that, and so that's what I wanted to make Crash about. And no one understood that, but that's okay. But my true villains in that are liberals like myself, and that's and I was played by the wonderful
Sandra Bullock.
No, Sandra Bullock. No, her husband, Brendan Fraser, who is such a wonderful and gifted man, doesn't get the chance. But Sandra and them. Anyways, but I thought, you know, when my son asked me a question recently, and he said, you know, he's just graduated from NYU, or is graduating, and he talked about the idea that he's looking for something to write, but when he finds it, he loses interest in it very quickly because it's not an original enough idea. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of writers, a lot of people who want to write, or just even actors who think of an idea that, oh, maybe this would be interesting, they lose interest because their idea is not that most original thing of all time. And so that's what I wanted to talk about with Amanda, because what I told James was that from my experience, any idea can be both terrible, the worst idea of all time, and the best. And it's the same idea. It's the exact same idea. But we give up on them because we go, oh, well, this has been done 7 times, you know, and I started thinking this because, you know, we were working out, he had an idea for a shark movie, and we were doing, now how many shark movies have there been? But after working with him yesterday, he has the most unique shark movie I've ever heard of in my life. And it's a shark movie, for Christ's sake. You know, it's not going to change the world. But boy, it has a point of view and a vision and some different things, different ways of dealing with problems. And from that, I said, you don't have to come up with the most genius idea. You have to deal with the situations that are presented to you. And you have to find ways to deal with those that are both real and take advantage of what's there, or put things there that you can take advantage of. So you can go, wow, okay, they can do that. They don't have to stay in the water. They can jump up on something, you know. So you start looking at it just a little differently through your lens. So Amanda, how do you deal with that when people talk about, you know, my idea is not good enough?
This is such a great thing to really talk about. First of all, there's really only 3 stories, right? We know that this has been said 1,000 times, right? Nobody's coming up with anything new. So get that idea. You're never coming up with anything new. It's all been done. The difference is what Paul just said, how you're going to tell it, right? And also, what I really want to, if you leave here with one thing, know this, that screenwriters are not geniuses. We don't have to be geniuses, right? So screenwriters are what Paul said they are. They're architects. We're architects. So it's not a matter of, do you have a good idea? It matters if the thing that matters is, are you going to work hard enough to turn it into a good story? Right? Any idea can be a story if you know how to tell a story. And that is what I always say. And so what I do is work with story structure to teach how to craft an idea into a story and what the steps of doing that are. And those steps are what I've learned, which was what I started to say when you asked earlier, what I learned by working with Paul and my father for 20 years, because the steps are repeated over and over and over again through every single project we've ever done. It's the same steps. And I started
without
to
me
put
knowing
them
it.
together.
Yeah. Without me even knowing I was on those steps.
Exactly. Yeah, really. Well, it was a pattern. I started to see a pattern. Every time, the phone call comes in, like you said, I called Bobby, right? So I'm Bobby's assistant. So I sit and the phone call comes in. It's like, oh, I got this idea for a story. Are you interested? From the minute the phone call happens to post-production, I saw this pattern that continued to repeat itself over and over and over again with successful results. And the pattern is finding the story first before you write one word. Never once in any project I've ever worked on with my father or with Paul was there any writing done until months into the process.
Yes. And the interesting thing is when you say no writing is done, and we often feel that if we're not writing a page of screenplay with dialogue, we're not writing it. It's just not true. 80% of writing is before you get to the screenplay. 80%, and I'm not over exaggerating. And it might only take 10% of the time. It doesn't matter. 2% of the time, it doesn't matter. It's 80% of the work. And that's when Amanda and I recently did this workshop that some of you were a part of, and it said, "Bring me your story." And we're going to do it again. We raise money for Haiti. If you go to Paul Haggis Masterclasses, .com, Federica can give you the information, and we raise money for Haiti in doing it. But the idea was, doesn't matter if you've written 1 page, 10 pages, 120 pages, or 578 pages of screenplay. You better be able to tell your story in 3 minutes. You'd be able to sit here and pretend that I'm just some guy in a bar, and you're going to say, you know what? I heard this story. Do you have a minute? And tell me a story. Keep me on the edge of my seat for 3 to 5 minutes. If you can do that, you've got a great story. If you haven't, what you almost always have is a series of events. A series of fabulous but unrelated events rather than things that are causal. And that's what people miss. It has to be a causal event. It has to, because this happens, because that happens, that happens. And oh my God, that's impossible. How did that get to happen? Oh my God, then we got to fix that. It's all causal. And rather than, and this cool thing happens, and this cool thing happens, and this cool thing, and that, it's not a story.
One of the smartest things that I've ever heard you say is that you have to be able to tell your screenplay story like it's a joke.
Yeah.
Tell a joke, right? Guy walks up to a bar. I don't know. Give me a joke.
So
I don't know. It is. What's the joke? Oh, yeah, man. I know. A guy walks into a bar with a duck on his head, and the bartender says, "What can I get you?" And the duck says, "Can you get this guy off my ass?" Right. That's a joke. Right?
That's a great one.
You need to be able to tell your story just like that.
I'm making that movie. I think you should call Terry and give him that because
Yep. So yeah.
That's part of the story. You have to trust that if you wake up and go, you know what? I want to tell a story about a man who wants to become a photographer. And people go, well, that's the dullest thing in the world. And then some things I've been learning from others, things I've always knew myself, but things we're able to say. One of my favorite writing teachers, other than Amanda, is Corey Mandel, and he just said, come up with a dozen of these a day or something, and then just ask yourself, how is it impossible? And he gave that example, man who wants to be a photographer. How is that impossible? Because we only love to hear stories about impossible things. He goes to school. And then he gets some money and he buys a camera. No, we don't care. Man who wants to become a photographer. Well, how is that impossible? He's blind. Start with that. There's a story. That's something that you go, oh my God, that's impossible. You go, yeah, well, it's a true story. That movie was made. It's like, if you come up with that impossible thing, that impossible dream, that impossible thing, and there's many other ways to tell stories. That's just one. But do not think that your story, that a man who wants to become a photographer, is bad. You just have to work on it a little bit. So that thing that drives you, you just have to, okay, but what if, until you make it so difficult for your protagonist, so impossible that you go, ooh, How the hell does that happen? That's your job to figure it out. You're a writer. You know, when people say, no, that's impossible, I go, yes, that's fabulous. That's what I want to figure out, how. And that's how I structure everything as I'm going through. The next thing they come up against, oh my God, how are they going to get out of that? That's impossible. Okay. Then they go, how about this? You never run away from that. You never go, no, it's not. No, it's fine. It's not really impossible. We can just talk our way out of it. No, you can't. Not in a movie. But not in a movie, you can't. You're going to deal right with that problem. And by dealing with that problem, you'll come up with something great. You'll come up with a great solution. But never, ever try to get around a big problem. Ever. It's death. People see through it. They go, wait. No, that was impossible. And now you just got around it. But no, deal head on with it. Fix that. Figure it out through through desperation, through what's in the scene, and through the character's drive and need, and the character's fears, and all those things. Use those things and a ceramic pig that he's carrying around, whatever it is, to get to the next stage.
Yes. One thing I wanted to touch on too real quick is you had said that you and my father wrote Crash in 2 weeks. And while that is true, what you didn't highlight is the 6 months of work that went before the writing.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened, because originally I came up with a series years before. This is a series years and years before. And because I thought in television, I had a deal at CBS, and so I came up with this idea, and I took it to CBS, and they went, no. So I happened to have an office next to a filmmaker who I so greatly admired, and so I went to him, and I said, "Can we work on this together?" And he said, "Let's." So we together went to HBO. Early days of HBO, and Sidney Pollack and I pitched this thing, and they went, no. And they said, you can turn down me, but that's Sidney Pollack sitting next to you. What the hell are you thinking? They said, no. And because they were liberals and they didn't want to be supposed to be told that, you know, they're the real racists. Anyway, so we went back, and then I sat on it for years, and then finally I finished $1 Million Baby, and Bobby had come in to save my ass on $1 Million Baby. I was working on it for a year. And then I had a script. I had too much stuff, and I'd optioned it. I was going to direct it. I was ready to go, and I couldn't figure the story out because I had 6 stories inside it, because I loved every single story of this short story book of short stories that I'd optioned. And I called Bobby. Bobby, you got to come help me. And so Bobby came and said, "You're writing too much. What the hell are you doing? Pick 2, any 2. Pick 2 stories." And I said, "Which? Oh yeah, okay. This one and another one." I think I ended up picking 3. And then he sat with me for a week as I worked the whole goddamn thing out. That's how he's a co-producer on that movie, because he saved my ass. And so after that sequence, I said, my wife, I was married at the time, and Deborah said, "You know that thing you thought about for a TV series? You should write that. You'll win an Oscar." And I said, "Are you crazy? That thing? No." But I reread it, and it was like I had 25 pages, and I'd researched that for a year. I'd spoken to every single person in LA. It was everything had happened. You know, I'd gone down to every part of town and met with people and talked to people what they were going on with them. And I wanted to fictionalize it, of course, but it was things that was making me mad, as Terry said, and things that I didn't know about myself. And so I wanted to investigate that. And so I talked to a lot of people for a year, and people over to my house for tea. I remember there was 3 African-American ladies were sitting there giving me their opinion on why whatever was wrong was wrong. And it was just like, and none of the men were smart. They were too smart to come, but the women would go, "This is what's wrong." And I go, "Wow." And so, and you know, Asian Americans, everybody, so just chatting to figure out what's going on. And so finally, after having nothing to do and after the script was done, I called up Bobby and said, "Can you read this?" And I sent him the 25 pages, and that's what his famous response was. "It's really great, Bob. It's not a movie." And I said, "I think it is." And he came and we talked about it, and the man, it wrote really quickly, the first draft. And then we went to, but exactly, you're right. There was a year solid of research and thinking that went into that. And then we did a reading at the actors Actors Gym, which Bobby and Amanda were running, and with some actor friends, we heard it. We went, "Ooh," and then we went back and we wrote for another week, and that was it. That was done. But it's because of Bobby's input and the fact that what Bobby is, it was the best collaborator in the world. What Bobby is a pain in the fucking ass. Here's the writing experience with Bobby. only one person can be at the typewriter, right? So I'm at the typewriter, working away, and we're on page 21. I remember this, page 21. And I ran into a problem. Go, Bobby, okay, page 21. These kids are speeding off down the street and they're just getting away. We have to have an obstacle. What happens? Silence. Bobby? Oh, yeah, Paul. He's sitting in the corner. He's reading the pages, the first of the pages. Okay. Did you hear what I said? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't. Let me repeat it. I said, oh, okay, these two guys, they've stolen the car. They're racing down the street. They're getting away. They're talking about, what their experience in the restaurant. Anyways, and they need an obstacle, something they can run into. What can it be? Bobby? Oh, sorry. No. Why? I said, what the hell's going on? We're trying to solve it. He said, yeah, I'm just stuck on something on page 4. I go, Bobby, we are not on page 4. We're on page 21. I go, oh, I'm sorry. What was the problem? I guess I'm not repeating myself. Even 3 times. Okay, so fine. What's the problem on page 4? He goes, well, it doesn't seem to have any conflict in that scene. I go, what scene? What scene the hell are you talking about? I said, this scene here on page 4. And he keep his cool and go, oh, you're right. Okay, so we go back to page 4. We work a conflict out, and then by the time I got to page 21, I'd figured it out or something else. And we go, oh, you know what happens in page 21? They run over somebody. Who do they run over? They run over the guy who was, was from the first scene. The woman was racing to the hospital to get to see her. That's who it is. Why? I don't know why, but that's who they run over. Okay, let's keep moving. But so there were things like that, but Bobby would not let me get away. He wouldn't let any bullshit happen in the script. He wouldn't let a moment happen without conflict, without the truth of the characters. Well, me, I was just trying to bullshit my way through. And so I learned so much from him, and just looking for the truth, looking for conflict, looking for what's happening in the scene that's pushing it forward, and not just the necessities of the script or the necessities of the plot. And that's, I think, that you've inherited as well. The finding out what the story is, not just what the plot is.
Yeah. He's famous for saying, I don't care what happens on page 21 if what happens on page 4 doesn't work. But it's so good. It's so good when you get to page 21.
So annoying. Tell him that. Tell your father that.
I wanted to say that if anybody's interested in knowing what those 4 stages are that I learned from Paul and my dad, this pattern that repeats itself over and over to have successful results, I did a podcast on it, and I will put the link right there.
Oh, great. And Feta, could you put up our link for our master classes that we do in support of our Artists for Peace and Justice? Federica, if you're still there, can you give me a thumbs up? And because anybody who's interested in doing that, we've only done one. I do some of the actors, we've only done one, but we're thinking of doing one sometime in the future with writers again. And it's and Amanda was amazing in how she helped. So can anybody see Federica? Did Federica have to leave? Amanda, can you find it?
Yes, I can.
Great, thank you so much. So I don't know. Does anybody have any questions that we can launch into? What you can do is you can put that little hand thing up there, and we can see it. If you have any questions, we got another little bit before we get cut off here. Guys, your microphones aren't on.
Oh, here we go. Maybe you can hear me. We have Armand Desante with us.
Huh? Armand! What a great actor. Oh my God, a generous soul. How are you, Armand? I am well. I was I just heard myself.
Perfect, Armand. We hear you very, very well, Armand.
Can you get the connections though?
Yeah, we have a huge echo, but that's okay. Armand was the most generous man in the world. Let me talk to him. We were doing a master class in Ischia a few years ago, and I had the honor of meeting Armand a couple of days before, and I said, "Listen, I have these actors, and would you mind coming to them and talk to them for 20 minutes, half an hour? Would you mind?" And he said, "Of course I'll come." And he came, and I couldn't get him off the stage. The man, he just wanted to give and give and give and give. And the actors were on the edge of their seats, learning so much from a man who's had such an incredible career, such a gifted actor who continues to do such amazing work. But the generosity of spirit that comes from you, Armand, is something that is.
Thank you so much.
It's too rare.
Thank you, Paul.
Armand, can you hear us?
Huh?
Can you hear from me?
Yeah, no.
Bit of an echo for you.
I have a very bad
Oh, boy.
connection.
No, but we hear
Cannot
you
hear.
very well.
I think we can hear Armand, and I can't see Armand, but I can hear Armand, and I can hear you very badly, Pascal,
I
because
can
there's a bit
see you.
echo on mine. But where
But
is
I can't-
Armand? Is he? Can you bring him onto one of these screens, Pascal? Can you?
Yeah,
I
but
don't see him.
Uh,
Is anyone see Armand?
in the final
Small.
video. So if you do watch it on telephone or on
No, he's not there. Armand is not there. Can anybody see Armand?
He's very small in the middle, I think.
Oh no.
No?
We're small in the middle.
Come on, Armand.
He's in the middle, but not small. He's a big personality, a great actor. I want to see him big. So Armand, where the hell are you? Okay. Technical difficulties, but
Oh,
there's
here he
Armand.
comes.
Oh,
There he is. Hello.
no.
Yeah.
Give up.
My.
Can
Can
we?
you hear me?
Can you hear
You
us?
know what I mean? Everything comes in.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
No, he can't hear us.
That's on the whole
No.
side. That's not on our side.
Can you
That's
put
the
him on
whole side.
Zoom so we can at least talk to him there?
Yes.
I don't.
You are.
I wouldn't. This
Armand,
stuff-
can you hear from me?
It's not. It's not working.
No, we hear you.
You can hear me.
Yes.
It'll be a long conversation because you're coming in 5 minutes after the fact.
Yeah, we cannot hear you.
Till many minutes
It
later.
may be the signal on the host side, but everything seems to be delayed. So you may hear him and the quality may be well, but we can't hear you too well. You're distorted and things are just not matching up in live time.
I see. So if you listen what I'm
But I
saying
listen.
now,
I want to listen. I want to listen. I'll listen.
no, but we
Ask
want to hear
you.
you.
He said, "We love you."
That's all right.
So Armand, pick up the phone.
I'm on to pick up the phone.
Paul.
Live.
This is a very nice improvisation movie, eh? Is that Paul? Paul neanche si sente.
He's preparing something. I know you're always busy. You've always got offers, and you're so humble and say, no, I never get anything. But I want to know, Armand, what's going on with you, and what we can expect next from you, because you truly are one of our greatest. And right now, not as appreciated as you should be. You go through waves. You go through, oh my God, that's Armand Assante, and then it's like you're gone for a year, and people go, oh, what? But now, you just consistently do such amazing work and such true work with your characters. And I want to hear what you're up to now.
I think he got disconnected because he's trying to have a nice. So you should, Federico, you should try to call Armand, and he's writing to me, signal rotto, impossibile. Now, what are you talking about? Trying to call him
Welcome
out.
to the film festival, the Los Angeles Italian Film Festival. It's LA that's the problem, not Italy. I want to stand up for Italy. It's LA that's the problem, not Italy.
No.
Well, magic happens, but it isn't always neat.
But this is technology, there are so many crazy technology right now. Paul, I am very concerned about the future of the art. Maybe I'm becoming old because with so many devices, I think that the authors, when they get to tell a story, they don't have any more the big concentration, unless you're not going away from everywhere and you just forget your telephone away.
Yeah.
What
Well,
do
you are
think
right
about
to
it?
be concerned, Pascal. You're very right, because you see what happened with the music business. As soon as Spotify came in and no one was buying CDs anymore, suddenly there was no money in the business. No one bought albums. No one even heard of albums. And so a lot of artists suffered, and the only way they could make money, even Sting and people like that, was to tour constantly, because there was no more money in making records, where that used to be, my God. So films are being threatened like that. You're right. I myself have never minded what size my movie is shown on, because I remember seeing movies on airlines and screens back when airline screens were this big, and you'd sort of stare at them like this. And I cried and was moved by great movies. There's some Laurence Olivier, Lawrence of Arabia. There's a few movies you do not want to see on that screen. However, stories are stories are stories are stories, and if you find some way to tell them, that's great. But yes, the bigger canvas we can have, literally, and also the shared experience, which I miss, especially in comedy. That you go and something is funnier because you hear the laughter rolling around you, or something is more dramatic because someone just gasped and what's going on, and so that's part of the experience which we no longer have, and I do miss that. However, people missed, people thought that as soon as you put pictures to sound, it would ruin everything. And then they thought as soon as you put sound to pictures, and then they thought that as soon as you put color then you put it on TV, it doesn't ruin it. Storytelling is storytelling is storytelling. But so we will adapt. But you're right to be worried, because there's a real time where things are going to be bumpy and have been bumpy. And the problem is geniuses like Terry Gilliam. Just people don't run out to finance his movies because people tend to want, okay, we're going to go for the biggest audience on Netflix. I was doing a Netflix series now, and I love Netflix series or something like that. That's what everything has to be. There's no more movies. It has to be that. You pitch a story and they go, great, but how can you make that into 8 hours, 10 hours? And then when you do that, can you make it into 7 series, seven different years? And you go, no, it's a beginning, middle, and end. And the story takes place over, I can give you 3 hours. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But I hate it when those great stories, things like, Brazil would not, maybe it would be great over a series, and maybe that's what Terry should do. In fact, he should. It would be a great series, but it was a great movie first. And that's his brain was working on that, and that's that box, that 2-hour box, is something that a lot of us think alike. But I started in television. I was a TV hack for many, many years. I failed my way upwards in television forever, before being fired and for being impossible. It's actually true. And then and I wrote, Crash and $1 Million Baby with, both with Bobby's help, out of desperation. First thing they ever wrote, because no one was going to hire me back in television. I insisted on quality. I insisted on all the time, and TV just wanted to go, you know what? You got 3 takes, you're done. No, the rest is fine. No, you don't. No, you can't dent it a big shot. That was back then. Now TV is as Michael Radford and a few others were saying, is great. And it's the small I forget who was saying it. I came on late, but the cinema that's now taking place over 10 and 12 episodes is amazing. And the quality of filmmakers there, attracting the writers and directors, is great, young and experienced, or inexperienced and experienced. But I still miss that box. Of course, who doesn't? I miss going to the theater and seeing it. We just opened up here in New York for the first time in a year, a few weeks ago. And I'm going across the street to the Angelica this weekend to see something. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
So Pascal, do we have Armand back?
Yes. So, Paul
No?
and Amanda, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, really. We appreciate a lot. It was a spectacular conversation between you and Terry Gilliam, with the contribution of Amanda, who's being the daughter
and
of...
Federica is going to post something, if she is right now, about our master classes in support of Haiti.
She's actually
Federica?
not on.
No, I speak to Federica right now. She just came on, and so she's going to immediately post a link, right, Federica? That people can write in and inquire about the master classes we do in support of Haiti that Amanda and I have been doing. So Federica, can you post that?
Yes, of course. In our chat, you mean,
Yes,
right?
look in the chat. There you go. You can find it there. Is it Paul Haggis
Maestro.
Masterclasses.com or something like that. And thank you very much, Pascal.
Maestro, one question. Is it possible that there is no student that want to ask you a question? I mean, they are also shy.
No, I think they're just tired of hearing me talk, and that's basically it. Yeah, I think we've been on for an hour and 40 minutes. I think they're brain dead. But thank you very much, Pascal. Thank you
so much. Thank you, Amanda.
We look forward to seeing you,
Pascal. Great to see you.
We hope to see you in Ischia, July 18, 25.
We love you, Pascal. Thank you. Thank you always.
Bye.
Ciao.
That
Thank
was
you.
Paul Haggis doing a masterclass from paulhaggis-masterclass.com. You can find out about his masterclasses that he does for charity.
Yes, and I think we should go now with TG1 today, because the news are really in Italy are really talking a lot about this event. So let's see what TG1 did today.
Parliamo ora del Festival Los Angeles Italia 2021, quest'anno in presenza e online da Hollywood, con tutte le migliori produzioni italiane, dal Pinocchio di Matteo Garrone alla colonna sonora del film con Sofia Loren, cantata da Laura Pausini, fino all'omaggio a Ennio Morricone. Leonardo Metalli.
È partita ufficialmente la 16ª edizione del Los Angeles Italia Film Fashion and Art Fest al Chinese Theatre di Hollywood, con l'omaggio a Ennio Morricone e una dedica musicale del figlio Andrea. A seguire una serie di appuntamenti fino alla notte degli Oscar il 25 aprile. Il festival, organizzato e prodotto da Pascal Vicedomini con la presidenza onoraria di Tony Renis, segna la riapertura delle attività artistiche italiane in America.
Los Angeles Italia non si ferma, anzi raddoppia, doppia chiave di lettura fisica e virtuale.
Siamo davvero orgogliosi quest'anno di poter proporre, malgrado il difficile momento, il festival sia al Chinese Theatre di Hollywood sia attraverso le piattaforme digitali che consentiranno a tantissimi cittadini americani di apprezzare le migliori opere italiane dell'anno.
Quali sono gli appuntamenti?
Ma innanzitutto un omaggio al maestro Morricone, scomparso lo scorso luglio, insieme a suo figlio Andrea Griminelli. E poi avremo veramente una parata di film italiani o che hanno a che fare con gli italiani straordinaria, da Pinocchio di Garrone alla vita davanti a sé di Edoardo Ponti con Sofia Loren.
Un omaggio a Laura Pausini?
Sì, Laura Pausini è l'unica autorizzata a viaggiare oltreoceano, perché si esibirà la notte degli Oscar il domenica 25 per cantare questa canzone che ha scritto insieme a Diane Warren e a Nicolò Iardi, Io sì. Tutti quanti ci auguriamo che porti a casa l'ambita statuetta dopo aver vinto già il Golden Globe.